Hello, welcome to this video on calculating mean, median, mode, and standard deviation from a set of data using a TI-84 Plus graphing calculator. We're going to go right into a first example. Your teacher, I would assume, already discussed the meaning of mean, median, and mode. We're just going to focus on actually using the technology to find those values. So in example 1, 20 people were surveyed and asked how many movies they'd watched in the last month. The data from the survey shown below. Calculate the mean, median, mode, and standard deviation of this data. The first thing we need to do is enter this data into the calculator. I've copied the data onto this slide for convenience. So to enter it into our calculator, we go to Stat and then Edit. And ideally, you want to put all the data. If you have one set of data, I know I have two lines, but this is just one set of data. I want to put that into L1. When you do this, you want to be careful that you don't make a mistake. Because if you make a mistake entering the data, your final answers will be incorrect, and you won't get marks for them, even though you may have known what you were doing all along. So carefully enter the data. If you're working along with this at home, feel free to press pause while you get the data in and double check it. I'm going to quickly scroll back up and just run through my data again and double check that I have not made a mistake. And I have not, so I'm ready to go on. The calculator will calculate for us the mean, the median, and the standard deviation. So we'll get it to do that first, and then we'll talk about finding the mode. So to calculate those things, you go back to Stat, press the Stat button, go to the Calc menu, and choose one variable stats. It asks where your list is. Our list of data is in L1. We don't have a frequency list. You'll see that a little later in this video. And so we just go down to Calculate and press Enter. The mean is the very first number. It's shown by an X with a little bar over it. So the mean of this data is 3.75. The median is a little harder to see. It's down off the screen. You have to scroll down and you're looking for the line that says MED. So my median, I'll try to write it out here on my little tablet, is 4. And my standard deviation, there are two standard deviations reported by the calculator, a population standard deviation and a sample standard deviation. We're always interested in the sample, that's the sigma x here. So my standard deviation is 2. Let's round to 2 decimal places. So let's call it 2.19. What the calculator does not calculate for you or find for you is the mode. So that's our next step. In order to find the mode, you have to find the piece of data that occurred the most often. You can do that by examining the data manually and trying to find any number that showed up more than any other number. Right? It's the 4 in this case having shown up 6 times compared to, say, the 3 showing up twice or the 2 showing up 4 times. But you can make that a little easier on yourself by sorting your data in your calculator. So if we go back to Stat, we went to Edit to put our data in, but I want to sort it. I'm going to go down to option 2, which it says Sort A. It stands for Sort Ascending, which means it'll sort your data from lowest to highest. I'm just going to press Enter. Oh, I'm sorry. And then I have to tell it what list to sort. So I'm going to press, I want this L1, little blue L1 above the 1, so I press second and the 1 key and enter. And it just says done. It's not very exciting, but if you go back to Stat and then Edit, you'll notice the data in here is sorted, which makes it easier to count how many instances there are of each thing. There's 3 1s, so right now it's winning for mode. There's 4 2s, so it's winning. But when I get to 4s, look how many 4s I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 fours. If you keep looking, no number occurs more than 6 times, so 4 is our mode. So then we would record the mode. I'm going to do that on the previous slide. I could write mode is 4. The mode does not always equal your median. It just depends on the data that you're working on. For our next example, we're going to do the same thing but with a frequency chart. So I'm going to reset my calculator memory, second plus 712. Clear out the data from the last question. I'm going to start here. 100 people were asked how many times they eat dinner at a restaurant each week. The responses are shown below in what they call a frequency table. This is a little different than the previous data. Our previous data was just a list of data. So 3 people said 1. In a frequency chart, if we had our last data, the 3 people said 1, you'd say 1 here and then 3 people under frequency. When you get to more and more people, like 100 people in this survey, a frequency table becomes much easier to enter data in because it saves time. If you're not using a frequency table, you'd have to enter the data item 0 32 times, and then 1 44 times, and so on and so forth. With a frequency, we can shortcut this method. So we go Stat, Edit. In L1, put all your data. In this case, it's nice and easy, it's just 1 through 7. And then put your frequency in L2. And just make sure you're putting the right frequency with the right data item. So 0, 32 people said they went out for dinner no times. 44 people said they went out for dinner once in a week. And so on and so forth. Just make sure you keep it in the same order. One person there that goes out for dinner every night of the week, apparently. Now we're going to find the mean, median, standard deviation mode of this data. The steps are almost exactly the same. Okay, we've entered the data into our calculator with the frequency in L2. I'm still going to go back to stat. I'm going to go to calc. I'm still picking one variable stat. We don't have 2 variables with a frequency chart where the variable is how many times did somebody go out for dinner. That's the only question that was asked. So we're on one variable stats. Our list is in L1, but our frequency list is in L2. So I go on frequency list. I want to put in L2, so I press second and the 2 button. And then I say calculate. So the mean, again the X with the bar over it, is 1.29. The median is 1. And the standard deviation, little sigma x, is 1.56. Finding the mode, if you have a frequency table, is quite a bit easier. You just look back at the data and look at the frequency and look for the item that showed up more than any other item. People who ate out 1 time a week, there's 44 of them, they occurred more than any other item. So my mode would be 1. And that's how you get your graphing calculator to help you calculate mean, median, mode, and standard deviation. Thanks for watching.